yeah, now, I mean, I think the real question is what she does, going forward. And, it seems like the Dems are really banking on sort of the honeymoon period lasting 100 days and getting her over the finish line. And, maybe stranger things have happened, but I've got to say, uh, like even this sort of honeymoon polls, she's now she's like only slightly behind Trump, or hey, we found a poll where she and Trump are about even. It's like, yeah, but you'd have to. That's the popular vote, man. I mean, you'd have to win the popular vote by a lot as a Democrat to
See,
actually win the electoral college. Like, and so
that's
it's
true.
like,
I actually
yeah,
kind of disagree though about the honeymoon thing,
sure,
because I think we are seeing a honeymoon online, like on Twitter, with people
uh,
that might not have traditionally supported Kamala
uh,
Harris, like lefties, Bernie people. So that's certainly a honeymoon. But when we're talking about the actual nation, I don't think the polls can even be accurate at all until maybe after the DNC, but maybe even after the first debate between Kamala and Donald Trump. I think that a lot of people are still deciding how they feel about Kamala, and they're going to need to see
yeah.
her at the convention with a VP pick. That's going to matter a lot. And then at the debate, actually on the campaign trail. So I don't think that these new
Well,
polls are just.
maybe here. I mean, here's the counter case there, right? It's like, and I also don't want to get lost here that like the overall takeaway for me is right now she's probably still screwed because, like, again, if she was only winning by a few points, she would probably still actually lose in the fall because the GOP's advantage the electoral college, and right now she doesn't even have that, right? So like the situation is still dire. It's just not as dire as it was. But like the counterpoint to everything you just said is, if you are like, I think it depends on how much of a political junkie you are, right? Like I think if you're are you somebody who's going to watch the conventions, right? Or like,
Well, I think we showed that the debates really have a pull on the American people, given the fact that it was so catastrophic when Joe Biden went out there, right? I mean, it was so catastrophic that the Democratic Party did the unthinkable and pulled him off the ticket.
yeah, which is great, right? As I mean, look, it's as a core brand proposition for me. Like, I like that the debates don't matter. People are being refuted, in such a dramatic way. But I also think that, look, why is it that debate was so bad for Biden? The debate was so bad for Biden because, like, it just made it so obvious that his brain doesn't work, right? So it's like a lot of people who might not have paid that much attention to the debate were like, wait, what was that? Right? What did I just see? Right? Like, and I think that it's something like that for sure is going to matter. But then, I could believe, like, I guess the reason that I'm maybe not as
Coconut pill.
skeptical. Yeah, I mean, I'm not as coconut pill, just that, like, I was like, look, if we're talking about substantive politics, I think Kamala kind of sucks. I think that that's
What's Kamala's best path to winning in your view?
yeah, I think Kamala's best path to winning is look, if she's not going to take my advice, which I wrote an article for Jacobin saying
She's actually
that,
listening right now, so she might.
I was intending to send this to her people.
Yeah. Send it to her dad. That's the guy most likely to open the email. From a lefty podcast. But yeah, look, if she was going to take my advice, I wrote an article for Jacobin saying she should, should pick Bernie Sanders because hey, shows that dumping Biden isn't about ageism. It's just this brain didn't work. And more importantly, I really, really want to see Bernie Sanders debate JD Vance. I think that'd be amazing. But but look, on the assumption that Donald Harris doesn't forward her that article, and she doesn't decide to do it, then yeah, I think like Waltz is probably, probably as far as running mate is probably, I mean, certainly out of the people who seem to be under meaningful consideration, right, is probably the best option there. And, I think in general, I think she should, I think she could, if she wanted to, right, go back to some of her positions from when she first got into the Senate, right? Like, she's like, look, she's a Senate co-sponsor of Medicare for All. She could start talking about Medicare for All. And I think that there, certainly she could, she could break from Biden on Gaza. I know a lot of people think that that's like a metaphysical impossibility because she's Biden's vice president, but like, really, like, what are they going to do? It's like, say
LBJ was a racist. That's what we keep saying.
Yeah, yeah. Like, she could do that if she wanted to. She could do that, and if she did that, right? If she said, like, enough is enough. I mean, she could even like bracket it with a couple of paragraphs of bullshit about how much she loves Israel, but then she could say, like, enough is enough. Millions of people, have been dispossessed. We've seen more children die than, all the war zones in the world for years. I'm done. I would strongly urge them to, come to a ceasefire, by the time I take office. But if not, they're not getting any more from us. Right. Like, if she did that, and she actually leaned into some actually populist economic policy, like Medicare for All, the PRO Act, which her administration, the Biden-Harris administration theoretically supports, even if it's like, been gathering dust, in a sort of drawer under, in the Oval Office for a very long time.
As she floats Mark Kelly, somebody who famously did not support the PRO Act.
Yeah, exactly, right. Yeah,
allegedly.
It's amazing. It's like a road to Damascus, a moment of political conversion there. That's
I would just say
the
that
timing is incredible, but she could do all this, and I've got to say, if she did, right, then what's the, Trump and Vance have been coasting on the fact that they can sort of say middle Americans are hurting. They could even sound sort of ambiguously anti-war, although, offer only applies to one war. But they can do all this stuff because if they're, running against Biden, that all worked, right? Whereas she was like, no, it's like, I'm actually going to be anti-war. I'm actually going to have some left populist, policy. Then I think it would really steal the fire from a lot of that stuff. And I do have to think that all of that would be popular. I'm not saying she won't necessarily win if she doesn't. Like, I have no, I have no crystal ball, right? I don't know, right? But
you don't practice Santeria.
I don't practice Santeria. I got no crystal ball, exactly. So
I just feel like, as much as I and us would like to see those things happen, I'm honestly at the point where I don't even think it's like necessary for her to win to come out in favor of Medicare for All or to, do any of that stuff. As much as I would love it to happen, I don't even think we're actually in the honeymoon period yet for Kamala, because like I said, the DNC is going to be when most people actually kind of get reintroduced to her, depending on how well she does at the DNC. She's going to have the opportunity to totally put forward an agenda that contrasts with the Republican agenda in a positive way. Again, even if it's not as lefty as we would like it to be, I think she could mostly just talk about like abortion and kind of the typical stuff that they went with in 2022 when the red wave did not materialize in the way that it was supposed to. I think she could really hammer home the cultural, you guys are weirdos and freaks. This culture war stuff is not popular with the American people. And, I just think it's not that simple. I think that Donald Trump is not, it's not that complex. I don't think that Donald Trump is in any way like a change candidate as he once was viewed. And because of that, he just kind of represents the establishment too. At least Kamala Harris is something new. She's something fresh for people. And it seems like the excitement is genuinely off the charts. So while I would say that there might be an end of the honeymoon from the online left, I still think that the general public, they haven't even quite come to terms with the fact that she's going to be the party's nominee. She hasn't even officially become the party's nominee. So I just think she could see a 5 to 10 point bump after the convention, after she picks her VP, in my opinion, although we'll wait to see.
Yeah, maybe. I don't know. I mean, I think that I think that it really depends on how much of the way that the race was 2 weeks ago was literally just about Joe Biden as a person, right? And how much of it was bigger than that, right? Because to the extent that it was, sure, right? But I'm not sure. I think that what we've seen so far, which is Trump's lead narrowing, there being some polls where they're about tied for the national popular vote. I think all of that stuff sort of makes sense if you think that there were the Democrats have larger problems, and it was just okay, it was getting really disastrous, but then swap in somebody with a functioning brain and it at least stops the bleeding, right? That makes sense. But then if you think that what was going on, if you think it really was just,
Biden.
just Biden as a person, then
because look at the down ballot races. Generic Democrats are romping in districts that Biden was, losing. And I think Kamala is a generic Democrat.
Yeah, no, that's that last sentence is definitely true.